Wurdi Youang comes from the word Wurdi Youang, meaning big mountain in the middle of the plains. The Youangs is so significant for the Wadawurrung people because it's a place where there's evidence every day of ancestors here. As a proud Wadawurrung woman, I think it's a pretty good feeling to work on country every day and to see that evidence. You know, I walk around and I can see artefacts or I can see a rock well that was created. For me, that personal connection to my ancestors is pretty overwhelming. My name is Ebonee Cook and I'm a Community Engagement Ranger for Parks Victoria. So I take a lot of school groups around, a lot of people from the community, and I teach them things about the Western Volcanic Plains, including the local Aboriginal Wadawurrung culture. For the Wadawurrung people, this was a great place because there was so much food and opportunities for hunting and things like that. Because the Youangs is a big mountain in the middle of the plains, it definitely has the advantage of height, so you can see throughout the landscape. So being up here, you can just imagine the advantage of seeing what's out in the landscape, seeing where the animals are, seeing where water is, seeing who's coming towards you as well. I think that was quite special. Wadawurrung people would use the landscape to the best of their ability, and they would build things like fish traps. They would build things like wells in the rock just so they could live a happy and healthy lifestyle. And they did it fine for thousands of years, and that's something that we always forget. Aboriginal people, they knew what was good for the environment and they knew how to look after it. So, for example, their way of farming was not caging animals in, but rather looking after the area and encouraging that growth of the revegetation to come back, so therefore the animals would come. It's a matter of looking after the country for the country to look after you, and I think that's something that we all miss and we take that for granted sometimes. When European people arrived to Australia, it obviously had a big impact on Wadawurrung people, but also the wider Aboriginal community in the whole of Australia. To all of a sudden have new people arrive in your country and to tell you rules that you've never followed and that you're like, why am I doing this? Their lifestyle changed, the whole landscape changed, the whole country changed. Things like introduced animals came and we see the impacts of rabbits that eat all of our native vegetation. There's foxes that are eating our native animals, and there's times where I'm walking around the park and I think to myself, imagine if it never changed. Imagine if them animals never came here, if them weeds never came here. Working for Parks Victoria has always been a big dream of mine, to be a park ranger. I always had this respect for nature and being able to work outdoors and feel like you're helping the environment. It's a passion, it's not just a job, it's actually a passionate career, and I get to work on country every day. So there's a strong connection to the land that it's kind of a spiritual connection in a way. I feel like I have that connection to my family and my ancestors. Educating people, I think I'm making a difference. If I can tell someone one little story or one thing that they take home with them and they pass that story on to someone else, that's rewarding for me and that's making a difference. Caring for country and looking after country is so important to me. I think there's a responsibility not just for Aboriginal people but for everyone to look after country because it's so special, and where would we be without country? You don't have to be an Aboriginal person to feel a connection to the land. You know, anyone can have that connection, and it's just getting out there and exploring and finding your own connection. I would encourage everyone to visit their local parks, not just the Youangs. Get outside and find your own connection to land, but also get in contact with the traditional owners of the land that you're on. Find out whose country you're on and whose country you're living on. Anyone is capable of protecting the land and connecting to the land as well. We're all capable of making a difference.